So the drumbeat is number of candidates in process. So let's just work with a couple of the swim lanes. You've got hiring manager submitted, hiring manager interview. Let's just deal with those two. So I get a role, it's 50 points, and I'm working on it. My first goal is to get to my WIP limit, which in our organization, it's 5. Once I have 5 submitted to the hiring manager, I stop working on that one and I work on my next one in priority because I need feedback. What a lot of recruiters do is they submit. They don't get feedback, and they're submitting the same candidate that's not qualified according to the manager. So why not force that manager to give you feedback, and you can go back and redo the search? So I submit the 5. They say, hey, we like 2 of them. These 2 are really good. Go find me some more. Schedule the interview with these 2. So I go and I find 3 more, submit them over, and they say, yeah, we want to interview all these 3. So now they're sitting at 5. All I have to do is make sure that they show up to the interview, that I gather the feedback. And then once I have it on all 5 and they go, this is the person that we want to hire, I extend the offer. But the whole time in my free time, I'm working on that next one in priority, doing the same exact thing. So that's where that drum beat comes in. The other is that at the beginning of the sprint, we do a retrospective. So we look back at the previous sprint. We talked about what worked, what didn't. We share it. The client is on the call. They share the same thing. If it's a major obstacle that we need to try and figure out, we'll take it offline and tackle it. So that way we don't repeat this insanity in the next sprint. The other thing is we ask them, that's when they do their allocation. And another aha was watching the recruiters advise those senior executives and say, I don't think you need to put points on that one. I feel pretty good. We'll probably have an offer in the next 2 weeks, but this manager over here has said that they really need some help. What do you think about this? So it created that hiring partnership where they almost depended on their talent advisor to say, hey, where do you think I should spend the points? And then the recruiter, it's kind of like you're sandbagging, it's like, hey, I know I can get this one filled so I can get these points. So it just created a lot more of a working relationship versus that adversarial. And then that feedback part of it, whenever I do the training, all the hiring managers, they'll nod their head. And then whenever I start enforcing it, they don't like it. They're like, well, I didn't know. Well, you're holding up the process. And so I need to hold you accountable, just as I would hold my team accountable if they're not doing what they're supposed to. So there's a little bit of a rub there, but then once they get into it, at one organization, I created what I called an ICE report, ICE. It means I've called and cared enough. And that was people that were outside of that 48 hours. And luckily at the time, the CEO that I worked for, back in her early life, she was a recruiter. And so I gave her that report. And she would call people like line managers, like 16 levels down, and say, hey, this one was assigned points and you're showing up on this report showing that you're not giving feedback. Is talent not important to you? And if so, I'd like to know why. And so it just took maybe a week of her doing those calls, buddy. We got feedback. I mean, it was prioritized that we got the feedback on the candidates, which helped our candidate experience. And sometimes, sometimes all you have as a competitive edge is speed to market.